Stopping Manchester City. How are Arsenal going to do it? Of course, last time we went to the Etihad, we did stop them. We want to go one better. We want to try find a goal. We want to try and potentially nick all 3 points. But I do believe that ultimately the way to stop City is to be sensible, have a good defensive platform, and recent sides that have had success against City, whether it be getting a win, stifling them, whatever it might be, have had that defensive platform. We're going to look at what they did well and look at what Arsenal did a little bit last season, how we build on it, and how we hopefully get all 3 points at the Etihad, or at least come out with a result that would keep us well in touch of the title race, even if we don't lose, but we come out with a draw. But let's talk about it all in a little bit more detail. And I mentioned 3 sides that recently have had some success against them. Inter Milan just went in the Champions League to the Etihad. They got a 0-0 draw. They stifled their chances as well, and they did that, as we can see here on the tactical pad, with a 5-3-2 formation. The formation meant 3 centre-backs across the back 4. Let's try highlight it here, or back 5 should we say. Wing-backs, marauding wing-backs like Darmian, who could get up and down the pitch. That condensed midfield 3 and 2 up top. It's almost, in so many ways, on paper, the perfect formation. Why? Because out of possession, you're able to be really congested centrally. Out of possession, you can still have... out of possession, you'll be congested centrally. In possession, you can get your wingers really high up the pitch. And it means when you are trying to counter and make sure that Man City don't commit everyone going forward, you've got 2 up front, whether it be Taremi or Thuram, or, the other day, Mbemo and Wissa did the same thing for Brentford in this exact same formation. They were able to just constantly have a question for Man City by having those players up the pitch, who of course would commit themselves defensively, but as a shape, it just means there's something for City to always think about. Now, interestingly, Man United has some success, a lot of success against Man City. They beat them in the FA Cup final, and they did it slightly differently, but there were similar principles. What they did was deploy a 4-4-2, but again, they did it more with these 2 players here. Let's again put a square around them. Here we go. These 2 players were false nines. They were players who kind of led the line in terms of 2 midfielders. I think it was Bruno Fernandes and, dare I say, Mason Mount. I can't remember who else it was in that front too. But they went with 2 who would just, again, drop into midfield, make it really difficult to play through, so that there was this box midfield for Manchester United, really difficult to play through, a 4 that, City really struggled to get some rhythm against. And then they just had that counter-attacking duo of whether it be Ahmad, Garnacho, Rashford, whoever it be, who could cause problems the other way. So what we've seen in Brentford, Inter and Man United recently had success against Man City is playing with 2 up top and having a system that meant, yes, we are going to be condensed, yes, we are going to pack out the area centrally, but we're going to make sure that there's 2 up there just to keep asking questions of the Man City centre-backs and not letting them get too comfortable and pressing too much into, because the more you sit back, the more you invite Manchester City on, and the more you do that, they're going to find quality. De Bruyne and Haaland, they're going to pull something out the bag. And so you want to make sure there's always that question being asked the other way. What people forget at the Etihad last season is that while Arsenal did a lot of defending for large parts of that game, that, ball from Partey into Ødegaard, then he turns and finds Trossard in behind. That was the kind of football Arsenal could pull together, because, yes, we were on the back foot, but there were players that Man City were wary of, and so we were able to find those pockets of space. We weren't too squeezed in, and we were actually able to generate an opportunity that probably should have won us the game. Now, those are kind of systems that have worked, but I was watching a really good video by The Athletic, and they talked about where Man City have been a little bit vulnerable, and they talked about, like I said, City squeezing teams in, and therefore there being space in behind. Arsenal did this really well in the Tottenham game, and I'll show it here on the tactical pad. Now the players are really big, so let's just make it a little bit smaller. Here we go. So when Maddison had the ball here, Arsenal's position is to be incredibly deep. We talked about this on Tactical Insight. They're really deep. Maddison's about to whip the ball into the box. And as you can see, Havertz, Saka, 2 of the highest players up the pitch. They did try and go press, Spurs into an error, but they get really deep into the penalty area. And when this ball comes in from Maddison, the header out from Partey, that's a trigger for Havertz to realise that there has been space left in behind. Let's try and show it. Here we go. All this space has been left in behind because Romero's in the box, because Van der Ven is the left centre-back covering a little bit more centrally, because Porro's going up to support. And so Havertz immediately is thinking, well, I'll attack it. And when Trossard clears that ball, Havertz was already on his bike. And I just think that link up between Trossard and Havertz might be quite important for not only the reasons we mentioned. As you can see, it sort of leads on to the chance we had where he combines with Martinelli and Saka. We end up getting a corner, we end up scoring the goal. But that link up between Havertz and Trossard is going to be interesting. It's also the reason why I think, for what we just mentioned about the 2 up top and what we mentioned here with attacking that space in behind, is why I think ultimately he's going to resort to that exact same system. And let's show it here. So we've got the player looking very small. Let's make these a bit bigger, and then let's put some Arsenal players in. There we go. That's why I think, while, okay, I've got as a 4-3-3 here, Arsenal will spend a lot of the game. In fact, I actually think Trossard will play as the left of the front two. I think Arsenal will play a lot of the game like this. I think they'll play so much football in this kind of shape, with the wingers getting back, as we've talked about so many times, the work rate that Saka and Martinelli put in. If Saka's coming across, Martinelli will tuck in and make that 5-3-2 that we've talked about Brentford into having a lot of joy with. We'll have that too of Havertz and Trossard to make sure we've got something going the other way when they are maybe stretching with Grealish or whoever it might be, or Doku, and there's that underlap from Gvardiol. We'll be equipped with the wingers to track those runs. I think in build-up they've also played a lot like this. I mean, actually, let's just let's get everyone up the pitch a little bit. So they've been building up with their sort of centre-back splitting, their full-backs being really quite wide and actually being quite condensed and central in these areas here. There we go, let's try to show it. Maybe one dropping in, sort of two midfielders trying to support, but really condensing that central area. And Arsenal, I think, will be tempted to go and press. I think they will, and I've got evidence for that in a sec, which I'll go into in a sec. But if we're just giving Arsenal sort of a generic out of possession shape, I mean, we might be a little bit more man-to-man than that. But because Man City, and they did this against Brentford, and it got Haaland one of his goals. Because Man City, I think, from build-up, like to be really compact in this area here, I think it basically entices us to go a little bit man-for-man. Whether it be Gabriel stepping in there, White stepping in there, Timber coming across. We can go man for man like that. But that might mean Saliba's in a bit of a one-on-one battle with Haaland. And we saw that when Haaland was in that one-on-one battle. And let's give the ball to Ederson. There we go. And Ederson went long and he found Haaland. He bullied his way through and put it into the back of the net. Got, City that all-important goal. Do Arsenal, do Saliba, do Gabriel, does Arteta fancy his centre-backs in a one-on-one battle with Haaland and try and basically, yes, when they've got the ball deep into their half, maybe they've got a goal kick, are we going to go and step onto them, try and press, and actually back ourselves that we're going to do better than the Brentford centre-back did in that battle and actually come out with it? Because Saliba and Gabriel have matched up really well to Erling Haaland when it's come to those kind of duels before, but it would just be risky because Haaland's in the form of his life, maybe. I mean, that's a big statement because 2 years ago is incredible form. But I just wonder whether Arsenal will do a similar thing when it comes to that and pressing. For anyone who's saying, no, Arsenal are going to sit off the whole game and just park the bus. Yes, I think that will be our principle, which is to track the Man City players. I think it will be to be sort of quite solid, quite focused. I want to show you this. And this here from Stat Zone. Arsenal's defence goes from left to right. What Arsenal did, I want to show you this cluster here, which I'll show in white. This was Arsenal in the first 15 minutes of the game at the Etihad of the second half. So minutes 45 to minute 60, let's call it. Arsenal did try and press Man City. Arsenal did try and actually a few times did win possession back high up in that half where Ødegaard and Saka were trying to press and win back the ball. We did have moments where the press was all right, but the thing is, City are so good on the ball. They are so good at calming things down and gaining control of proceedings at the Etihad that Arsenal basically retreated into a shape because it was so difficult to keep that up and actually get any joy and actually create any transitions from those moments. So I think this idea that Arsenal will go and park the bus and sit really deep and be uber defensive against Man City, look, that's likely how a lot of the game plan is going to be because City is so good you respond to that. But I do think Arsenal will try find moments to press and will try find moments to go one-on-one and back Saliba and Gabriel against Haaland, though it's going to be very, very difficult. Ultimately, my prediction for this game is that Arsenal will come away with a draw because I think we'll nick a goal, but I don't think we're going to keep the ball out of our own net, unfortunately. I do think City will get a goal, but I think Arsenal, the whole game, is constantly finding this balance between if Rice is in the 8, do you go, do you not? If Trossard and Havertz are the two strikers, do you stretch their back forward? Do you sit in and make sure you've got that box midfield a la Man United like we talked about? The fullbacks, Ben White, pick his moments to go forward. Saka, pick his moments to be ready on the counter, as will Martinelli, when you're also trying to track their fullbacks. There'll be a lot of timing, there'll be a lot of intelligence and moments and understanding of the game state. But the Arsenal players have shown they can do it, and I think this time they'll nick a goal as well. I'm just not sure it will quite be enough to get the win. Now, quick injury news. At the time of recording, Kevin De Bruyne did come off against Inter Milan for Man City. A little bit touch and go whether he's going to be available, but at the time of recording we don't quite know. We do know that Ødegaard is out with what is a significant injury, according to Mikel Arteta. I didn't do a reaction piece on it on the channel, only because we don't really know anything. We don't know if that means 4 or 5 weeks, if that means a few months. Some people, ITK's come out and said he could be out till November, but actually the press conference from Mikel Arteta, his demeanour was, hopefully not months. He kind of laughed at the idea that Ødegaard could be out for months. So yeah, but he does describe it as a significant injury. So we know we won't have him for this game, but I think we'll go for what we did against Tottenham in terms of Trossard being the one who steps in and Havertz drifting out to the right to the defensive duties and combining with Saka in that area too. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section below, everyone. What do you think for this game? What do you think will be our tactical approach? And I know that wasn't sort of the deepest of breakdowns in terms of numbers and data and stuff, but I just wanted to give an idea for some of the shapes and moments that Arsenal could find themselves in to try and stop Man City, and how what Brentford, Man United and Inter Milan have done so well is actually something that Arsenal's general shape against Tottenham and in recent big away games is something we kind of deploy anyway. Even if the formation on the pitch doesn't say 4-4-2 or 5-3-2, we're so flexible and fluid, we find ourselves in those kind of shapes and positions anyway. Everyone, enjoy the game. I'll do a reaction on the channel, and of course I'll be on AFTV as well for the watch along, live reacting to every kick of a ball. Hopefully we come out with a positive result.